Sometimes love doesn't arrive at the perfect moment. Sometimes it arrives quietly in the middle of confusion, distance, and time that refuses to slow down. But real love, the kind that touches your soul, doesn't disappear just because life becomes difficult. Tonight, I want to speak about a love that doesn't run away, a love that stays, a love that waits. Because when you truly love someone, your heart doesn't measure time the way the world does. It doesn't care about months, years, or the distance between two souls. It only knows one truth: that person matters. And if love is real, if it is deep, honest, and written somewhere beyond logic, then waiting is not suffering. Waiting becomes a promise that says, my love, no matter how long it takes, no matter where life carries us, I will wait for you. Because some people are not just part of our story, they are the reason the story exists. And when you find that kind of love, you don't replace it. You wait for it. Some people walk into your life like a passing breeze, touching your days for a moment and then fading into the distance. But every once in a while, someone arrives who changes the rhythm of your heart forever. Someone whose presence feels quiet and powerful at the same time, like the calm after a storm or the warmth of sunlight after a long winter. And when that kind of love finds you, something inside you begins to understand patience in a way you never did before. Because real love is not always about holding hands every day or sharing every moment together. Sometimes real love is about believing in someone even when they are far away, even when the world places miles, years, and silence between two hearts. Love teaches you strange things. It teaches you how to miss someone and still smile when you think of them. It teaches you how to wake up every morning with hope, even when you don't know when you will see them again. And it teaches you that the strongest promises are often the quiet ones, the promises whispered deep inside your soul when nobody else is listening. When I think of you, I don't think of time passing. I don't count the days or the months or the distance that stands between us. What I feel instead is something steady, something calm and certain. It's the feeling that somewhere in this world, there is a person whose existence makes my life more meaningful, even when we are not standing in the same room. You see, love isn't always loud. It doesn't always arrive with fireworks or grand declarations. Sometimes love is simply the decision to stay loyal to a feeling that the world cannot see. Sometimes it's the quiet courage to believe that what you share with someone is rare enough to protect, even when life becomes complicated. There are nights when the world feels silent, when the noise of the day fades away, and all that remains are thoughts and memories. And in those quiet moments, my heart always finds its way back to you. I remember the way you made ordinary moments feel important, the way your voice carried warmth that could calm even the most restless thoughts, the way your presence made everything around us feel a little more alive. Those memories are not heavy. They are not painful. They are gentle reminders of something beautiful that once existed and still lives somewhere between us. People often say that waiting is difficult. They say time slowly wears down feelings and turns love into something fragile. But I have learned that when love is real, waiting does not weaken it. Waiting reveals its strength. Because when you truly care about someone, you don't look for replacements. You don't search for distractions to erase what your heart already knows. Instead, you carry that love quietly, like a small light inside your chest. A light that continues to glow no matter how dark the night becomes. There is something peaceful about loving someone this way. It removes the pressure of rushing life or forcing moments that are not meant to happen yet. Teaches patience, understanding, and faith in something greater than the clock on the wall. I don't know what the future looks like. I don't know how many roads life will take us through or how many challenges will appear between now and the day our paths meet again. But what I do know is simple and clear. My heart chose you, not because everything was easy, not because the timing was perfect, but because something about you felt true in a way that cannot be explained. And when something feels that true, it doesn't disappear just because time moves forward. There is a quiet strength in loving someone who is not standing right beside you. It forces you to understand that love is not possession, it's not control. It's not about demanding someone's presence every single day. Love, at its deepest level, is about wishing for someone's happiness, even when life pulls you in different directions. So if the path you are walking right now takes you far from me, I won't try to pull you back. If life asks you to chase dreams, face struggles, or discover parts of yourself that you haven't seen yet, I will not stand in the way. Because loving someone means respecting the journey they must take. And while you walk that journey, I will remain here with something steady inside my heart. Hope, not the loud kind of hope that shouts promises to the world, but the quiet kind that simply waits. The kind that believes that if two souls are meant to meet again, the universe will slowly guide them back toward each other. There are people who rush through life searching for perfect timing, perfect circumstances, perfect certainty. But love rarely follows perfect plans. Love is messy, unpredictable, and sometimes painfully slow. Yet the strange thing is that the most meaningful love stories are often the ones that take time. They are the stories where two hearts travel through different seasons of life, learning, growing, and becoming stronger before they finally meet again. Maybe that is what our story is doing right now. Maybe this distance is not the end of something beautiful, but the quiet middle of a story that is not finished being written. When I close my eyes and imagine the future, I don't picture dramatic reunions or cinematic moments. What I imagine is much simpler. Two people meeting again after a long time, a quiet smile, a moment of recognition in each other's eyes, the feeling that despite everything life has thrown at them, something inside their hearts remained unchanged. That kind of love does not fade easily. It survives silence. It survives distance. It survives time. And maybe the reason it survives is because it was never built on temporary excitement. It was built on something deeper: respect, understanding, a connection that felt calm instead of chaotic. The world often tells us to move on quickly, to forget people who are not standing beside us anymore, to replace memories with new faces and convince ourselves that love is something that can be easily recreated. But the heart doesn't always follow the rules the world creates. Sometimes the heart remembers one person in a way that no one else can replace, not because you refuse to let go, but because what you felt with them was real enough to leave a permanent mark on your soul. And when that happens, waiting does not feel like a burden. It feels like loyalty. It feels like honoring something that once brought light into your life. Every day, the world continues moving. People chase career, build futures, travel to places they have never seen before. Life keeps unfolding in countless directions, carrying each of us through experiences that shape who we become. And somewhere within that constant movement, love quietly remains. It remains in the memories that still make you smile without warning. It remains in the lessons someone taught you without even realizing it. It remains in the way a certain song or place suddenly reminds you of a person who once made your heart feel understood. Love leaves traces everywhere, not loud, overwhelming traces, but small, meaningful ones that appear when you least expect them. Sometimes it happens during a quiet walk when the evening sky turns soft and golden. Sometimes it happens when you hear laughter that sounds familiar. Sometimes it happens when you sit alone with your thoughts and realize that someone out there once changed the way you see the world. And in those moments, the feeling returns gently, not as sadness, but as warmth. Because loving someone deeply does not always mean having them close every day. Sometimes it simply means being grateful that your life crossed paths with theirs at all. But there are certain connections that feel unfinished, connections that leave a quiet sense that the story between two hearts is still breathing somewhere beyond the present moment. That is the kind of love that teaches patience, the kind that whispers, "Don't rush the ending." Waiting for someone is not about putting your life on hold. It is not about standing still while the world continues moving forward. It is about living your life fully while keeping a place in your heart open, a place that belongs to someone who once showed you a kind of love that felt rare. You continue growing, you continue learning, you continue becoming the person you were meant to be. But somewhere inside you, there is a quiet understanding that if life ever brings your paths together again, you will meet them not as the same people you once were, but as stronger, wiser versions of yourselves. Time does not only separate people, sometimes it prepares them, sometimes it prepares them, sometimes it gives them the space they need to heal, to discover themselves, and to understand what truly matters. And when two people who once loved each other deeply meet again after that kind of growth, something remarkable can happen. They recognize each other not just with their eyes, but with their souls, because the connection they once shared never completely disappeared. It simply waited, just like I will wait, not with impatience, not with frustration, but with quiet faith in something that cannot always be explained. Because love, when it is genuine, has a strange way of finding its way back home. Even after long journeys, even after silence, even after silence, even after time has tried its best to convince two hearts to forget each other, there are moments in life when love asks us to be brave in ways we never expected. Not brave in the loud, dramatic sense that people often talk about, but brave in a quiet, patient way. The kind of bravery that lives in the heart of someone who chooses to believe in love, even when it is not easy, even when the person they care about is far away. Loving you has never been about convenience. It has never been about perfect timing or perfect circumstances. It has always been something deeper than that, something calm and steady that exists beneath all the chaos life sometimes brings. From the moment you became part of my world, something inside me understood that this connection was different, not louder, not more dramatic, just more real. And when something feels that real, the heart does not treat it lightly. The heart protects it, holds it gently, and refuses to let time erase what it knows is meaningful. There are people who come into our lives and stay only for a short chapter. They teach us lessons, share moments with us, and then continue walking their own paths. And that is okay, because every person we meet shapes us in some way. But every once in a while, someone arrives who becomes more than just a chapter. They become part of the story itself. You are not just a memory in my life. You are a presence that continues to live quietly within me, not in a way that feels heavy or painful, but in a way that reminds me how powerful love can be when it is genuine. Sometimes I sit with my thoughts and wonder about the roads life is taking you down. I imagine the places you might see, the people you might meet, the dreams you might be chasing. And instead of feeling fear or jealousy, what I feel most strongly is hope. Hope that life is being kind to you. Hope that you are discovering things that make you smile. Hope that you are discovering things that make you smile. Hope that wherever you are surrounded by moments that remind you how valuable you are. Because loving someone means wishing them happiness, even if that happiness is not happening right beside you. And that kind of love is quiet, but incredibly strong. Distance has a strange way of revealing the truth about feelings. When someone is no longer standing in front of you every day, when their voice is no longer something you hear constantly, when their presence becomes something you remember instead of something you remember, instead of something you see, the heart has to decide what remains. Some feelings fade quickly when distance appears, but some feelings grow deeper. They settle into your soul in a calm and permanent way, like roots growing beneath the surface of the earth. The love I feel for you is like that. It doesn't demand attention every second. It doesn't scream or try to control the future. It simply exists, steady and patient, like a quiet promise that lives inside my heart. There is something beautiful about that kind of love. It doesn't depend on constant reassurance or daily proof. It trusts the connection that once existed between two people who understood each other in a way that felt rare. And when I remember the moments we shared, I don't see them as something that belongs only to the past. I see them as pieces of something larger, pieces of a story that still holds meaning. I remember the way you looked at the world with curiosity, as if every little detail carried its own hidden beauty. I remember the calmness you brought into conversations, the way your presence made ordinary moments feel warm and meaningful. Those memories are not chains holding me back. They are reminders of the kind of love that deserves patience. People often misunderstand waiting. They think waiting means standing still, refusing to move forward with life. But that is not what waiting truly means. Waiting is a quiet form of faith. It means living your life fully while still believing that certain connections are worth protecting. It means growing as a person, learning from the world, and becoming stronger while still carrying love in your heart. I am not waiting by freezing time. I am waiting by becoming someone who understands love more deeply than before. Because love is not only about the moments when two people stand side by side. Love is also about the invisible threads that connect two souls even when life separates them. There are nights when the sky feels endless, when the stars seem scattered across the darkness like tiny pieces of hope. In those quiet moments, I sometimes think about how vast the world really is. Billions of people moving through their own lives, chasing their own dreams, facing their own struggles. And yet somehow, among all those countless paths, our lives crossed. Out of all the possible stories the universe could have written, it allowed our hearts to meet. That alone is something extraordinary. So even if life has taken us in different directions for now, I cannot believe that the connection we shared was meaningless or temporary. Some meetings in life happen for a reason greater than we understand in the moment. Sometimes the meaning reveals itself slowly, over years, as time gently unfolds the purpose behind certain relationships. Maybe the reason we met was to teach each other something about love that we could not have learned anywhere else. Maybe the reason was to remind each other that kindness, patience, and understanding still exist in a world that often feels rushed and complicated. Or maybe the reason was simply to show two hearts that real connection is possible. Whatever the reason is, I know one thing with certainty. What I felt with you was not ordinary. And when something is not ordinary, it deserves patience instead of impatience. It deserves faith instead of doubt. Life has a way of testing people. It places obstacles on the road, challenges that force us to grow in ways we never expected. Sometimes those tests involve distance, sometimes they involve time, but tests do not always exist to destroy something. Sometimes they exist to strengthen it. A love that survives distance becomes more resilient. A love that survives time becomes deeper. Because when two people care about each other enough to remain loyal to the feeling they once shared, even when circumstances are difficult, that love begins to transform into something rare, something mature, something peaceful. And that is the kind of love I believe in, not the kind that burns brightly for a short moment and then disappears, but the kind that glows softly for years, the kind that continues living quietly in the heart even when life becomes busy and complicated. I do not know how the future will unfold. None of us truly know where the road ahead will lead, but I believe that life has a rhythm, a mysterious way of bringing certain people back into each other's lives when the time is right. Not always in the way we expect, not always when we demand it, but often when we have grown enough to understand the value of what we once had. Maybe one day, somewhere in this vast world, our paths will cross again. Maybe it will happen unexpectedly. Two lives moving through their own journeys, suddenly pausing in the same place at the same moment. And in that moment, there will be recognition, not confusion, not awkwardness. Recognition, two hearts remembering something that never truly disappeared. And if that day ever arrives, I hope we will look at each other with the quiet understanding that time did not destroy what we once shared. It only tested it. Until then, I will continue walking my path with calmness in my heart. I will kai Antanu, believing in the beauty of love that does not rush, love that does not pressure, love that simply trusts the journey. Because the truth is simple. Some people leave your life and fade into distant memories, but some people become part of your soul in a way that time cannot erase. And when someone becomes part of your soul, waiting for them is not a sacrifice, it is simply love.